Okay, so here we have embroidery floss. It usually comes in strands like so. And there are 6 strands in each piece. So normally what some embroiderers do is they separate the strands and stitch with 2 or 3 strands, and they use needles and these threads. So this particular one has 2 strands, and you'll see the needles, they have a pretty big eye. So you thread the needle like so, and then at one end you tie a knot. And then we're going to do just some simple stitching, but here are some examples. So this is a little painted piece with a little stamped person on it. And there's the other side with a house, and it's in the shape of a heart. It just has some very tiny little X's, nothing very fancy. This one happens to be stuffed. Here are some more examples. This is with fancy fabric, very simple stitching, straight stitch and X's. Here's another one. Very tiny stitches. You can see the stitching on the back. Here's another one. Lots of stitches. Just to give you some examples, and you can also cover the back nicely with felt so you don't see all the messy stitches later. This one's kind of fun. Blah, blah, blah. And again, very simple stitching around the eyes. Very simple around the nose. So here's my palette. I have a lot of thread, but I like having a lot. And when I'm working, it's almost like the palette is telling me the next color to use. So here was our piece, okay? And you see X's, and you see this is an X with a little extra piece. These are just called seed stitches. This is a French knot. It's a very small French knot. Here I sewed some buttons on. So basically, just to give you an idea, you take your needle and thread. I'm going to do this somewhere where you can see it come through the back to get started. And I'm going to go on the yellow. Just come through one way. So you feel that knot, that'll stop it. And then you go back the other way. It's really pretty simple once you get the hang of it. Okay? So then you can decide, do I want to go straight up and down? Do I want to make a little design? So we're going for organic. We're going for little molecules in our microscope. So I'm just going to randomly place some straight stitches just so you can see the process, and always understand that when you, at least when you work with me, it does not need to be perfect. Actually, that's kind of the idea. You want it to be unique and yours. So that's a simple straight stitch. And just to move along a little bit to give you another idea, I'm just going to come back to this area here from behind and go blue on blue. And I'll do an X here just for the fun of it so you could see the X. Just like a straight stitch, but to the side, and then up and through. And let's say you say, okay, I'm done stitching blue. So then you just turn your piece around, you find the back, you make a loop, you come through once, you make a loop, you come around twice. Don't worry so much about how the back looks, because later we'll either mount it or put it on something else. So the back will be nice and tidy like I showed you before. Under here are lots of messy stitches, but only we know that. So I'm going to continue using different color threads to keep bringing this project alive. The more stitching you do, the more embellishments you bring in. As I said, I believe I'm going to bring in some beads. These are some beads that we could bring in. And I have a whole treasure trove of different buttons and who knows what. But that's the fun of it. And different buttons. And you can really go crazy decorating if you want. But this just gives you a general idea. And I hope you enjoyed it.